is Evan Whitener. I'm one of the owners of the bicycle stand here in Long Beach, California. My wife and I started this business back before 2011. I was still in college and she was working at a restaurant. Somehow vintage bikes had gotten into our system to the point where we had started to make efforts to find some of these classics and start restoring them and refurbishing them for ourselves, and then it turned into people that we knew. We always had bikes being built in our house while I was in college and while she was working, so when I graduated I got a job in North Hollywood, moved from Long Beach, and if anyone knows LA, that drive is insane. So pretty quickly we reevaluated and realized that maybe we should be putting our effort into what we love to do in our free time, which was refurbishing these classic bikes. So we opened our first shop in 2011, and we started doing what we like to do. And that shop was 700 square feet, and it was a train yard. You had to move one bike to get to the next bike to get to the next bike, and that wouldn't have bothered me, but I think we wanted to expand just for our customers' sake, so everyone could have a chance to move around inside of our store. So we moved down the street to 2740 Broadway, which is where we are right now, and this place just let us really grow into what this place could be, what the bicycle stand could be. As we started to restore more and more bikes, we saw our customers growing as well. So as they would mature and find a new bike that they wanted to pick up and buy, or to explore and to experiment with, we'd make sure we could bring that in for them. So we started bringing in, the carbon stuff Giant and Bianchi, and really growing with our customers. Myself, I started riding bikes, when I was, I don't know, maybe like 8 or 9, maybe a little bit later in life. But went straight into BMX, had a couple friends that were riding BMX, started racing BMX in San Diego, California, going around to different tracks there, sitting in the back of our station wagon. And then did that for 3 years and moved up, pretty confidently, which was great, gave me a little bit of confidence in the sport. And then we moved to North Carolina. My family moved to North Carolina, and I was exposed to mountain bike riding, beautiful trails, just stuff you don't see when you grow up in Southern California. I mean, just greenage, and getting the sense of getting lost in a way that you don't get in Southern California. But that's also where I started to learn a little bit more about sort of a constructed or something that is more sanctioned in terms of competitive sport, being registered with USA Cycling, just kind of taking that next level up, and that was really nice to be exposed to that. And then my family moved back to Southern California, and when I moved back, that's when I was exposed to road cycling. And I had someone who was nice enough to get me a bike, or put a bike underneath me, basically loan me a bike on extended terms, and I was able to train with that person. And they happened to be the president of the Cal State triathlon team at the time, so that exposed me quite a bit to the competitive nature of road cycling. And and just going through college as a young guy and gals, kind of cruising around Long Beach was really something that I'll always remember. It shaped kind of the social side or the community side of the cycling scene. That's where I met, most of the employees that work here today. Those guys and gals that have worked in our shop, I've known for 10, 12, 15 years just from the cycling community. Nicole and I have known those people for quite some time, and they've made the same dedication that we have, where they've started 15 years ago, and now they're here, and they've dedicated their time and their knowledge and skill set to really accentuate what we do here at the bicycle stand. We do a lot of vintage restorations, a lot of very technical specifications where people will expect you to know some of these esoteric bikes and how they're how their inner workings are. And I can't say too many bike shops have the knowledge or the tool depth that maybe we've been exposed to at this point. I don't want to say that we know everything at all, but I mean, we just are exposed to it quite consistently, these different facets of cycling, and have to adapt quite regularly. But our staff does a wonderful job, and we take pride in the fact that if it's something that is 100 years old, we can do it. We host a Sunday night session at the Carson Velodrome. It's actually industry night, so it's open to anyone who's in the cycling industry, but we've kind of taken hold of that session and used it as more of an introductory session to the track. And we've been doing that for 5 years, and it's really a joy to see people start out on the rental felt TK2s that are at the track, and slowly develop their riding skill set and become a really well-rounded cyclist, whether they came from the road or they came from fixed gear street riding, but all of a sudden the guy who was cruising around on a flat bar fixed gear, now he's at the velodrome taking measurements, looking at his reach and his stack and trying to figure out what's his next move to become faster. And in that Sunday night session, we've seen people who have never ridden the track within 2 years become national champions, and that's something that it takes my breath away. It's really amazing to see people's very quick adaptation and just enjoyment of another side of cycling, and that's something we're very proud of. We've been doing that for a while, and track bikes play a huge part of this shop. And we try to do everything we can to service track bikes at the highest level. So whether it's gluing a set of tires, or really speccing out a gear ratio, or trying to figure out what gear ratio per event you're looking to do, we'll try to spend the time, and we'll bring out a whole repertoire of gearing, and you can just come out on the track and give it a shot. That's what it takes to kind of define or to figure out what makes you the fastest. But that it's very enjoyable, and that is a part of this shop that extends beyond the walls of the shop itself. So every Sunday night, we're out there kind of benchmarking things or just putting in base miles, but Sunday nights is definitely when it happens. This is a 1974 Confente. This bike is significant in a couple ways. Mario Confente, was hired by Mazzi in Italy to come over to the United States to set up operations at the Mazzi Carlsbad plant here in on the West Coast in California. And basically this Italian guy came over, and he assembled a group of younger guys, surfers, guys that were in the local Oceanside Carlsbad area, and brought these guys in and really showed them how to build frames the Italian way. Mazzi at that time, his shop was run out of the Vigorelli Velodrome, the basement of the Velodrome in Milan. I mean, that's the heart and soul of cycling. And now you had, his top lieutenant come over to Southern California to teach a bunch of younger guys, basically how to build these masterpiece bikes. And, that was a big stepping stone forward. Now it wasn't just an Italian bike, but this was the start of the American lightweight kind of bicycle, and lightweight just means narrower tires, kind of compared to what most Americans were riding at the time. But this particular bicycle, compared to its Italian counterparts, was finished on that next level. Mario Confente always paid more attention to detail, to symmetry, to just kind of creating expressions throughout his works of art. And he bestowed that sort of mentality to the younger American guys he was teaching, and that spawned a whole generation of frame builders after Mario Confente had passed. Guys like Brian Bayless, who worked at Mozzie, Medici, Tesh, Eisentraut, a number of these guys that went on to really create their own hallmark brands that exemplified the American way of building, racing bicycles. They were, in some way, shape, or form, shown by Mozzie and Mario Confente how to do it. So this bike represents kind of that crossing continents, the traditionalism from Italy, and bringing that over. And this bike was really kind of a exemplary piece, with all its detail work. American bikes in general, they take the whole artistry to another level. Sometimes the Italians, they would sort of rush things through, or they might be okay with certain, areas of roughness and unfinishedness in some aspects, very general way. But the Americans really focused on making sure those things were perfect and dialed and just smoothed out and feathered to the point of being, almost art. We consider those frame builders, artists, and the bikes that they produce, art. That's just kind of the way that these vintage bikes, are really read, just almost as works of art. And when you ride them, you get a sense that there's been a personal touch laid into each bike, and the riding experience reflects that. Just a huge thank you to the whole Long Beach cycling community for being who they are, for Cycle Survive, for this video, just for the whole community. Long Beach is pretty unique. We have a great surrounding area to ride and explore. The people that are out here are just the best people that I've met on two wheels. Also a huge thanks to my beautiful wife, who lives through this every day, and also our staff, who is continuously bettering themselves and making sure that they stay on the cutting edge of what's going on. These guys, they're here before I get here, and they're here sometimes after the lights are off. So working on their own bikes, and those guys definitely make this shop happen. And it's just a beautiful thing between the community and the staff. Everyone really loves what we do and loves what they do, and loves riding bikes. And you can't really go wrong as long as you love what you do. So huge shout out and thanks to everybody that's been involved.
Au quotidien, ces sur